Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. This is your host, Rising Oblivion. Today, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Persona 5 Royal Remaster, which is basically going to be the next-gen version of Persona 5 Royal, the one that's going to be on the PS5 and potentially, on next-gen Xbox and some of the other stuff like in Steam. Well, not potentially, it is going to be there, but let's talk a little bit about the Persona 5 Royal Remaster. I've had a lot of people ask me, is this going to be worth it? I already have the Ultimate Edition on my, PS4 or whatever. Is it even worth me trying to get the game on the PS5 or Steam or whatever? Is it going to be worth getting it there? And that's what I wanted to talk about today and see really what the core of Persona 5 Royal is and whether or not it's going to be worth even doing. But the first things first, let's just talk about DLC. I believe that's going to have all the DLC in there. I don't know that for sure, but typically, whenever Royal came out, all the DLC that was in just base P5 was automatically included, so I would assume that's what it's going to be like, but I'm not 100% sure on that, obviously, but I'm going to assume that all the DLC is there. But let's go into other things like the actual graphics, frame rates, the resolution and whatnot, and talk a little bit more about that. So this game is a JRPG, but something we need to also keep in mind, not only is it a JRPG, but it is also a game that released on the PS3 and technically kind of was just ported to the PS4. It does look better, significantly better, I think, on the PS4 compared to the PS3, but the PS4 to the PS5 is a little bit of a different story. So I have took my, P5 disc and put it into my PS5 and looked at the game, which did upscale. I have a 4K monitor, so it is kind of upscaled there, but it's not actually 4K, right? It's just sort of upscaled there. It's like a fake way of having 4K, you know what I mean? So we do have that, and I have seen the game, and it doesn't look significantly better. So when it comes to the Persona 5 Royal Remaster, does it need 4K? Does it need, over 60 FPS? I'm gonna say no, I don't think it necessarily needs that. It is a game, like I said, on the PS3. It is a very beautiful game already. The game is, one of the most stylish and crisp and clean looking games that I think I've ever played, to be honest with you. So when it comes to graphical improvements just in terms of looks, I'm not necessarily sure if that's something that is needed, to be completely honest with you. So if you're a person who is solely doing it based off of that, I'm not entirely sure that is a good reason to try and get this remaster. But let's talk about frame rate, right? Because a lot of people would choose frame rate over graphics any day. I know I'm a person who plays a lot of shooter games, and I know for sure that when it has more frames, the game runs smoother, feels smoother. I feel like I'm more immersed in a game that has a better frame rate, right? When you see choppiness or lagginess, it really just sort of hinders the experience, breaks immersion, especially a game like Persona where you're really sinking yourself into the character, right? It's a silent protagonist because you're supposed to be somewhat filling yourself into that character's shoes, you know what I mean? So you want the game to running smooth, feeling smooth, and running very nicely. So I think when it comes to the next gen versions, I think this is where the game actually will shine, is having a better frame rate. Obviously on the Switch, it's not going to have that. And if your PC is a lower end PC, it's probably not going to also want to run, very, high frame rates either. But if you can get 60 and over, this is a beautiful thing to have. We have seen snippets of what Persona 5 Royal would look like at 60 FPS, and it actually looks very, very good. But there's two aspects of Persona. There is the turn-based, JRPG type stuff, and the overworld, where you're running around in the overworld, right? That is where this shines, because you have characters walking, people moving around. Essentially, if you can go from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, you're doubling the frame rate, right? If you're jumping from 60 to 90, you're only getting a third of more frame rate. But if you're jumping from 30 to 60, you're doubling the game's frame rate. This is where I might actually give a decent argument as to why Persona 5 Royal Remaster on the PS5 might actually be a decent idea, because you're getting double the amount of frames. You're playing this game twice as smooth as it has been before. And seeing Joker run around in the overworld at 60 FPS, when he jumps on the demon and rips their mask off and everything, that looks super clear and crisp, and just looks super nice when it has 60 FPS. And like I said, I think that's where the next-gen versions of like Royal, I guess you could say, or Royal Remaster, whatever you call it, is going to shine, is that extra frame rate. Because those frames really do matter when it comes to, like I said, quickly moving things, a lot of moving things on screen. When it comes to the turn-based combat, it is a turn-based combat game. You know, it's not super fast all the time anyway, and whenever they do quick things like shoot the guns or call it personas and whatnot, it's only a couple seconds. It's a turn-based game. It's supposed to be quick when it comes to the turn-based combat, you know what I mean? So that part isn't super significant when it comes to needing more frames. The overworld, I think, is when it matters more, especially with Persona 5. You know, Persona 5 does a lot more with that stuff. Hiding behind cover, jumping behind different bits of cover. The puzzles and whatnot are a lot of times like types of moving puzzles and just moving around like mementos. Using the van, there hasn't been aspects like that in some of the past games where Persona 5 actually has a lot more overworld type stuff and movement, so that's where the frame rate part will shine. However, during the combat, that's probably not super important. I wanted to make this video just to break down these different aspects to you guys, because I know a lot of people have been talking about it. But there's one more thing we could talk about here, and that is load times. So I have made a video in the past talking about load times for Persona 5 Royal on the PS4 and the PS5, but obviously that's not the remastered version of the game. But once again, there really wasn't a whole lot of a difference there. It did double the, you know, load times, I think, because you have a SSD. So if your computer has an SSD or using the next-gen Xbox stuff or, you know, obviously the PS5, you're going to have an SSD as well. If your computer has an SSD, then obviously you're going to be loading it very quickly as well. But the thing is, there really isn't very many long load screens in Persona 5 in general. Because the game, like I said, it was made on PS3, brought over to PS4, it already was pretty damn fast. There isn't a lot of load screens where I felt like it took forever. I know some of these subway type stuff and the overworld takes a little bit, but when it comes to battle and moving around there really isn't a whole lot of stuff that needs a lot of loading. The demons don't need loading in. Whenever it comes to fusing demons, you can pretty much just keep clicking through and it loads pretty much immediately. Like loading the compendium, doing different animations and stuff, there isn't ever a point where the game starts to suffer. So I think all in all, we can sort of take away from this that when it comes to the next-gen version of Persona 5 Royal, Remaster, or whatever, where it's going to shine is in frame rate. Smoothness, frame rate, it will load faster, you will look at it better, it is going to be the most definitive place to play the game still, which I think half the reason why I just want it on my PS5 or computer or whatever is for content creation and also just to have ease of access, because I'm not playing my PS4 nearly as much as I used to, and I really don't mind playing this game again. If you're a person who is on the fence and doesn't know if like their Persona 5 Royal Ultimate Edition on the PS4 is, you know, now insignificant compared to next-gen versions or the PC port or whatever, if you're a person who is really wanting to know if it's worth it, in my personal opinion, I don't think so. For the most, you know, like, people just want to play the game. I don't think it's worth it. If you're a person who does want to have, you know, more frame rate, that's the place to go. If your PS4, for some reason, is just really bad at load times or something, then obviously jumping to an SSD is going to be a significant help, but other than that, it's kind of hard to say. The game's going to load faster, have more frames, and look better, but overall, all of those improvements are not anything significant. Like I said, the frame rate is probably going to be the only thing where we're noticing a significant jump. That might be the only thing where you really like pause and go, whoa, that actually looks a lot better now. But other than that, everything else isn't going to be a significant jump. So that's kind of my video on this, on the topic. Obviously the game's not out yet, so I'm not 100% sure as to all of these things, but it's, you know, kind of an obvious thing they're going to be doing here. Obviously utilizing the SSD, and obviously the hardware is going to be better on next-gen stuff. There's better GPUs, so it's going to run and look better. But I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know if it's worth it for you guys. Are you going to be getting the PS5 version of Persona 5 Royal? Are you going to be getting it on Steam? Are you going to be getting it on your Xbox? I believe it's going to be on Game Pass, so let me know. Where are you going to be getting these games at? But I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe for more content. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching.